watch Veterans Stadiums get imploded?
It's not.
Yeah.
No?
I watched it in person.
Did you watch it in person? Where were you?
I live right across the street from there.
Where do you live?
Packer Park.
Packer
It's like
Park.
right off the CP.
I was at my dad's house, I was crying.
You were at your dad's house? And where does he live?
He was, 25 mils.
Did you watch it on television?
Yeah.
I do want to play house with the last game.
You were at the last game of the event? Was that the NFC Championship game, or was that?
I'm not.
Not.
I was in the last
Hey, so where were you?
the first one.
We actually feel special too. We were on the highway, we started walking through the highway. And like, we saw our guys walking towards the stadium. So the guy had the air horn and he screamed charge. And like, there's traffic. He's not going to work. And we just took over.
Wow, get out, so you guys closed the highway.
We closed the highway. We took over a highway. It was pretty awesome. I think I got lucky. Everything, like, it was pretty nice.
I was in college, I lived at 32nd Market in a 17-story apartment building. And we had a gathering the night before, which extended into the early morning hours. We went to the roof and watched the event come down. I got a lot of great memories from Veterans Stadium, going to Phillies games as a kid, Eagles games as a young adult, where you can sleep outside for playoff tickets, for the tickets to go on sale at the box office and not online. Pretty neat. Pretty good time. So let's watch a video of this OSHA covers demolition. There's two separate subparts for demolition. Can anybody tell me what those subparts are? Where would we find those? Where would we easily find those? Table of contents.
Subpart T.
Subpart T.
Subpart T, demolition.
And subpart U.
And subpart U, blasting and the use of explosives. Great, perfect. So we'll watch two examples of two stadiums being demolished. One, Veterans Stadium, what did they use? Anybody remember? Like some kind of dynamite or explosives. Right, so that would be covered under subparts T, and what is the other subpart?
U.
U. And then we'll watch the spectrum. I don't know if anybody's seen footage of that, but it's kind of funny to see that start to come down. Yeah, does anybody remember what they demoed the spectrum with? So if you're not going to use explosives, what would you use?
Blasting.
What's that? Wrecking ball. Yeah.
Wrecking ball.
They use the wrecking ball. And that's also covered under the demolition subpart. So let's watch this video. This is pretty neat.
3, 2, 5, fire!
Fire!
Hey, what happened to one?
Stays up forever. Oh, there it goes.
Just amazing.
That's it. There it goes.
Inside and outside.
There's a new Philly
All
stadium.
over the new stadium.
Huge cloud of dust that arose from the implosion. And it started to float towards the Delaware and New Jersey. It went over Citizen Bank Park, almost baptized in the park. Tonight, there is still dust.
See, it's pretty much second block. You're always going to be in the shadow.
For anybody who lived in that neighborhood, did they have you like clear out your houses or anything?
They didn't, nah, cause like, we were enough distance, you know what I mean? The parking lots are all in front of it.
Hopefully you got something.
Unless you live
All that
in
makes South
certain
Philly
people.
cleaner. Everyone that didn't like it said, you would better leave and go inside.
So on the other hand, here's a video of the Spectrum being demoed. Anybody tell me who that is? Bernie Krause. Says only God saved more than Bernie Krause.
That was only in 2010?
You did on your bike?
Yes.
I feel like it's running from.
Oh my god.
Is he a sports figure?
All sports media?
He's not
Here it comes.
Yeah, it is.
You sure? Look at it. I don't know who he is. Check it out.
Little ball.
That's it. That's all I got.
That little ball.
That's all I got.
We're gonna watch this whole thing.
Yeah, we'll be saying the rest of your
That one didn't do nothing.
They were close. This is my life right
This
there.
one's going for it, what?
Yeah, he's really gonna get it this time.
That's not it.
That's literally my life.
This is what demo should look like.
Here it goes. This is the hit.
And boring.
Red.
They should use like a big ball to stop it from running up.
Playing bumper cars here right now. Oh yeah, here we go.
Working till that I'm just saying, I should have tore it down.
Yeah, the ones that start.
Can anybody think of the hazards of imploding this building? And I want you to think about what was the building made of? Made of brick? Do you think that maybe there's some other hazardous substances in that building?
Asbestos.
Asbestos.
Possibly?
A lot
Right,
of
so
They didn't care.
they took that apart piece by piece instead of imploding the entire thing, because imploding the entire thing could have caused greater hazard for the general public. The Veteran Stadium is mostly outside, but with all the heating, all the pipe, the chiller pipes, the pipe insulation, the roofing materials, everything that they used to build the Spectrum with, they couldn't just implode it. They had to take it apart piece by piece, and it was just long and slow and boring.
I had so much fun inside there, sneaking in there.
Is that what
We
you
used to
did?
go and bring our rollerblades, sneak through the gating.
Wow.
It was great.
We're learning a lot
And the
about
security, you know what I mean? Yeah.
All right, so
Throwing dumpsters down from the friggin' thing.
how long is this subpart T?
Not that long.
2 pages. It's not much. So we can pretty much learn this entire subpart. Unlike some of the other subparts where we can't really focus on each part, we're really going to dig a little deeper into this. So what I'm going to do is separate you guys into 4 groups. This looks like the perfect group number 1.
No.
Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll have.
You want to skip that one?
Well, with the numbers, we'll have 2 groups of 6 and 2 groups of 5. All right, so I'm going to take the next group of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and move you guys over here. So you guys will sit together? 6 people?
It's okay. You need to come up with this shit. We have the coolest name.
5?
He's no longer the guy
I trust you guys can stay right where you're at.
Yeah.
So this,
Yeah, nothing will be proven.
you're all set. Here, Mike, you want to play there? So here's the test. You guys have a friend, a little brother, a sister, somebody you know is starting in the Carpenters Union tomorrow on a demo job. Each group, is going to take a different column in this subpart. You have 5 things that you're able to tell that person, and you have to limit to 5. So take the 5, what you think is the most important standards in that column, and choose them, and we'll share them with the class. Everybody got it? So we'll start. Column number 1, page 1. Column 1. Page 1, column 2. Page 2, column 1.
One stairs, past the
Page
bridge.
2, column 2.
Literally page 2. This whole column.
It's only two pages, not page number 2, but turn over to your subpart T. Second page.
We got short ladder.
Preparation for preparatory
Next other page.
Pick up the most important one.
Alright, so you guys have a group of 6, so you can either choose, each person choose one, or discuss amongst your group what you think is the most important 5 things to share with that person who's starting tomorrow.
Who's the best reader here? I'm gonna myself.
I'm in the back, so.
Alright,
No, I'm just kidding, you are. Yeah, I would say that. Somebody needs to turn the gas off.
okay, so I'm looking for the standard time.
Problem.
Right, 1926,
Demo's gonna go a lot
1054.
faster.
A2.
That we were gonna pitch somebody going to a demo job.
Alright.
So we picking one and talking about finding
If
out which one.
if they're like, yeah, what should I expect?
What you're gonna do is pick the top 5
When operations are not
out of this entire column.
Oh, gotcha.
5 things that you could tell a new person that's starting on their first day of demo job tomorrow. You guys good? We're on this column, right? This column. You deal with them all the time, right? Yeah. Shoots and everything underneath.
Over there. How did it get up there? Yeah, I know where it's at.
How about to dispense materials should be larger than
You guys 5% of the
No.
I like it.
Which one is that one?
Do it.
The removal of materials through a floor.
What did I say right there? More coming.
So we're doing
Somebody who started in G. I like that.
I like that too. How do you guys feel in G? I like G. Which one did you fucking hire? This one? I don't like that one.
You said you liked it.
Nah, I'm just kidding. You like that?
Letter C.
What's the next one?
851.
You should get 2 sheets.
Go, Dave. Where are you?
I think not.
Alright, let's bring it in, let's go over whatever your best.
Yeah, you say, I think H or I. Go on.
They're called.
Who's the smart person?
Do they want to
Rates might get there. It's only 6 on the top.
Okay, we'll start with group 1 and we'll go to group 2, 3, and 4. Group 1, what do you have for that first column?
We have 1926, 850 C. All electric gas, water, steam, sewer, and other service lines to be shut off. That was
Shut off, capped, or otherwise controlled outside the building line before demolition work is started. So you have to locate all utilities. Everybody remember the number you call to locate utilities outside of your job site or outside of your house?
811.
811. Call them before you dig, right? TA1 call. You want to do that at least 24 hours before you dig. I would say safe bet would be a week. Great. So in addition to that, I'd like to add the very first standard, 850A. So please highlight that. Prior to permitting employees to start demolition, an engineering survey shall be made. And what does shall mean when it's used in notion? Must. By a competent person of the structure to determine the condition of the framing, floors, walls, and possibility of unplanned collapse. It also requires any adjacent structure where employees may be exposed shall also be similarly checked. Okay, great. What else do you guys have?
Okay, the next one is 1926 850B. When employees are required to work within a structure to be demolished, which has been damaged by fire, flood, explosion, or other causes, the walls or floors shall be shored or braced.
Shored or braced? Great. Yeah, so these, so I say the 5 most important, but think like, they're all important, because they're all laws, and they all have to be followed. So, great, I think that's a great one, perfect.
Now, should we highlight that?
What's that?
Should we
highlight
highlight
that?
that? Just
Sure.
highlight the one you point out.
Yeah, highlight, why not highlight the entire column? The whole page will be highlighted in yellow.
You want me to just start scribbling?
I think it defeats the purpose if you highlight every word. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of highlighting in the first place. Okay, what else?
Next one we have is 1926 850E. Should be also determined if any type of hazardous chemicals, gases, explosives, flammable materials, or similarly dangerous substances have been used in any pipes, tanks, or the equipment on the property.
Great, important, right? Because otherwise, once you demo these things, you're going to be exposing your employees to greater hazards, right? Not just the hazards of demolition itself, but the hazardous substances. Yeah, highlight that. When the presence of any such substance is apparent or suspected, testing and purging shall be performed, and the hazard eliminated before demolition is started. Great, what else?
For our fourth one, we had 1926 850I. All floor openings not used as material drop shall be covered over with material substantial enough to support the weight of any load which may be imposed.
Great. So if you're doing demolition work, the floor has been designed to carry the intended load. So that means typically all of the equipment and people. But once you start dropping floors, then that floor may not be designed to handle all of the floor, the load of the demolition that come from above. That was 1926 850I. All floor openings not used as material drop shall be covered. Great. And the last one?
1926 851C. In a multi-story building, when a stairwell is being used, it shall be properly illuminated by either natural or artificial means.
Great. Yeah, that's to protect the workers going up and down. Two, I'd like to add, 1926 850K. Employee entrances to multi-story structures being demolished shall be completely protected by sidewalk sheds or canopies, providing protection from the face of the building for a minimum of 8 feet. Where are my scaffold guys at? This is the standard that puts you guys to work, right? Sidewalk canopies. And 851B, all stairs, passageways, ladders, and incidental equipment thereto shall be periodically inspected and maintained in a clean, safe condition. All right, great job, guys. Thank you. All right, team 2, column 2, covering chutes, floor openings, and removal of wall masonry sections and chimneys.
Alright. 1926.852F. Raw material.
Not anymore, which is the. Literally just said this right.
Somebody else.
Okay, so
I'll
I'll start.
go first.
Okay.
852. Chutes E. Any chute opening into which workmen dump debris shall be protected by a substantial guardrail approximately 42 inches above the floor or other surface on which the men stand to dump the material. Any space between the chute and the edge of openings in floors through which it passes shall be solidly covered over.
Great. We use chutes typically on sites pretty often, right? So this, we're typically, carpenters are tasked with setting up these chutes. So you must have a guardrail 42 inches for the chute opening. Make sure nobody falls through there. I'd like you to go over F also. I think that's a good choice.
Listen, those are good choices.
So, 1926.852F. Where the material is dumped from mechanical equipment or wheelbarrows is securely attached to a mortar bumper not less than 4 inches thick and 6 inches high shall be provided at each chute opening.
Yeah, that's to prevent the wheelbarrow from going over, right, or going into the chute with mechanical equipment.
I like to point out that I said
4 inches thick and 6 inches high. Also a good idea when you're working on an exposed edge in an aerial lift to secure a 2x or a double 2x down, so that way there's no chance you can go over the edge or something. Something to think about. What else you come up with?
Nineteen twenty-six, H52G, chutes shall be designed and constructed of such strength and to eliminate failure due to impact of materials, small debris, loaded there.
So it's got to be designed to handle and carry the weight of the materials going down. So that would also include, it's got to be made of a material that wouldn't shred under like hitting with screws or studs or whatever else, T's, mains, whatever's going down, right? Okay, what else?
1926, point 854D, structural or load supporting members of any floor shall not be cut or removed until all stories above such a floor have been demolished and removed. This provision shall not prohibit the cutting of floor beams for the disposal of materials or for the installation of equipment, provided that the requirements of 1926 853 and 1926 855 are met.
Great, so 1926 854D, highlight that. And do you have one more?
Yeah.
Okay.
1926 854I, walls which are to serve as retaining walls against which debris will be piled shall not be so used unless capable of safely supporting the enclosed load.
Yeah, so that's specifically for retaining walls, it's 854I, but we're gonna assume, and we're gonna apply that to every other structure, right? Everything that you pile material on or whatever, all the demoed material has to be capable of supporting the load. Proposed on it. One I'd like to add, 1926 854B, no wall section which is more than 1 story in height shall be permitted to stand alone without lateral bracing, unless it's designed to stand alone for more than 1 story high. So you got to demo the building without allowing that wall to extend past 1 story. You have to include that. As soon as you take its structural integrity out, it's got to come down. Great, cool, nice job, thank you. Group 3, page 2, column 1.
1926 855C, safe walkways not less than 18 inches wide, forms of planks are not less than 2 inches thick of wood, or other equivalent strength metal shall be provided used by workers necessary to enable them to reach any point without walking on exposed beams.
So you'll see that come up in scaffold also. Work platform has to be at least 18 inches wide. Great. What else?
Then we're going to go down to E, the same section, planks shall be laid together or solid bearing and overlapping at least 1 foot.
Again, another thing you'll see in scaffold, the planks have to overlap each other 1 foot. Okay?
And then we go down to F, when floor arches are being removed, employees shall not be allowed area directly underneath, such as the area shall be barricaded to prevent access to.
So it must prevent access to areas underneath demolition. Whatever you do, somebody's going to find their way in, around, under, through, whatever barricade you set up. It's typically the general contractor and the subcontractor's responsibility to put those gates in place. And a lot of the time, when you see construction fences around a job, a lot of the time it's not to prevent theft. It would be to prevent just anybody just kind of wandering through, people on their phones, wandering right into the construction site, right into a hole. You know, never know.
They still do it.
Happens all the
with
time.
the
Yeah.
gates. They do with the gates.
Happens all the time. What else do you have?
We're going to go down to 1926 856B, floor openings shall have curves or stop blocks to prevent equipment from running over the edge.
Great. That's what we were talking about a little bit, right? Putting up some kind of toe board so that something can't run off the side. I'll add to that 1926 856A. Please highlight that. Mechanical equipment shall not be used on floors or working surfaces unless the floors or surfaces are of sufficient strength to support the imposed load. So if you have an aerial lift, you need an aerial lift for your job, and you need that lift to go up 30 feet, you would pull the spec sheet online to find out how much that lift weighed, and perhaps you can't get a huge scissor because the floor can't handle it. You may have to get a lightweight, maybe something they call like a spider boom, instead of using a big scissor if you got to go up 30 feet, if the floor can't handle the weight of the lift. Great. Thank you, nice job. You have one more?
Yeah, one more, on storage, 1926, 857A. Storage of waste materials and debris on any floor shall not exceed the allowable floor limits.
Great, okay. Thank you, that's 1926, 857A. Group 4.
So we have, 1926 858C, steel construction shall be dismantled column length by column length and tier by tier.
And columns may be in 2-story lengths. Great. That's 858C. Highlight that, please. And what else you have?
858D, which is any structural member being dismembered shall not be overstressed.
858D. All right.
We have 859A, no worker shall be permitted in any area which can be adversely affected by demolition operations when balling or planning is being performed. Only those workers necessary for the performance of the operation shall be permitted in this area at any given time.
Okay, so what's balling? Wrecking ball, right? We just saw a little video of that. And how about clamming? Yeah, anybody have any idea what clamming is? So have you seen those, they're like big teeth, big jaws on a crane? Yeah, that's called clamming. That's called the clam shell. It's on that big thing up, right? Or it comes and it grabs stuff and pulls it down. Clamming. Great, yeah, that's something you want to highlight. 1926 859A.
859D, the ball shall be attached to the load line with swivel type connections to prevent twisting of the load line and shall be attached by positive means in such manner that the weight cannot become accidentally disconnected.
Great, so it would be extremely dangerous if that wrecking ball came apart from the crane. Do you agree? I would agree. Okay, what else do you have?
859G, which is during demolition, continuing inspections by a competent person shall be made as a routine for weakened or deteriorated floors or walls or loose materials. No employee shall be permitted to work where such hazards exist until they are corrected by shirring, bracing, or other effective means.
1926 859G. Please highlight that. Thank you. Nice job. And nice job, everybody. You know, so the task is to just give somebody the 5 most important things. Like, all these things are important, and every one of these standards has to be followed. But we have to summarize it somehow, just for lack of time. I mean, look at this book. I mean, how can you memorize or cover everything? So we just take little chunks at a time. Right, and we give you what we think is most important for you as where you're at in your career, as well as the trade that we're in, stuff that's specific to carpenters.
All standing around like this little demolition.
Yeah, so what are we looking at up there? I mean, what does it look like? It doesn't matter where it is, but what's it look like?
People are like trying to see what happens.
It's like something really bad happened. Yeah. Right?
A kitchen explosion.
June 2013, Salvation Army,
Oh, no shit.
22nd and Market. 6 people died.
Oh.
6 people died as a result of the collapse. 13 people were injured. There was demo operations going on. The building next door, you can see the bucket, and they didn't recognize certain glaring defects in their work procedures, and this was the result. Yes.
Wait, so the building they were gonna knock down stayed, and the one they weren't knocking down fell down?
No. So this section construction photos that show kind of the evolution of this demolition. And we're gonna go through and we'll just recognize, we'll look for the hazards for each one of these photos. Was anybody here? Did anybody hear about this? Anybody working nearby?
I used to exterminate there.
Hoagie City.
Then they had the porno movie theater right next door.
This-
It was shady, it was like.
This building was owned by the porno king.
The porno king.
He made his money in Times Square with like the peep shows and whatnot. And they had some pretty grimy little spots down here on Market Street too. Which I'm not sure if they're still open or not. I wouldn't know.
Mike would know.
You have addresses or?
So this is the building.
Have you ever heard of
Before
No.
it crushed that Salvation Army. Anybody see what could possibly go wrong here?
That wall tip out to the right.
This wall here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad, right? Did we talk about a specific standard in this book that says that we shouldn't do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
One story, right, without the wall being braced. What else? What else is going on in this picture? How about these workers?
Standing pretty close to that wall.
Even the roof, like, it looks like it's going,
The whole building.
it looks like it's gonna drop at the top.
This roof here? It does look like it's bowing, right?
Yeah.
Whole building, the wall looks like
The whole building. It also looks like they demoed the front half and not the back. Didn't it say in the OSHA standard that you shouldn't bring this building down floor by floor?
Yeah.
How about these guys here? What are they doing?
They're really close to the show.
They're really close to the wall. They are employees. Would you say that they're,
Wasn't the one person like they said was on drugs though? The guy who was driving the.
the person who's operating, the
Yeah.
operator who's operating this thing? Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about him specifically.
Yeah.
But how about these guys? What do you wear when you go to work?
I did.
High vis, hard hat,
There's only one high.
gloves, glasses. I see one guy with high vis, and that guy also looks like he has his hard hat also. But as for the rest of these guys,
That's pretty guard.
I don't see any PPE. This is Market Street. Yep.
You know that if you're here, right?
That's right, he's on camera.
So, just some general hazards of demolition. Falling debris, crushing, electrical or chemical hazards. Falls. The construction site is dynamic, means it's constantly changing. And then there's unknown hazards, so modifications to the original design. What if somebody didn't build a load-bearing wall to the specifications, meaning they were supposed to use 12-gauge studs, but instead they used 16. Right, that could be a hazard. Big difference, right? And then hidden materials, maybe something is encapsulated. It may not be harmful to you if it's encapsulated inside concrete, but have you demo that concrete and then it gets exposed to everybody, so that's another hazard, demolition. So here's a picture of that building before demolition. You'll see that Hoagie City, that's the building under demolition. The Salvation Army is the building that was crushed, that remained open during demolition, which is crazy, right? So imagine you being a superintendent, right? You're charged with performing this job. So you go out there with the client, the person that owns Hoagie City, and they say, we got to bring this building down. What do we got to do? What do we have to do? Just some general things that you would think you would have to do if you were the foreman or superintendent in charge of demoing this building.
Block off the street, probably.
You'd want to block off the street or access so that pedestrians can't get hurt.
I would probably make sure that the buildings next to me aren't gonna get fucking crushed.
How get crushed? Right, the buildings next to me don't get crushed. So you have to check the structure as well as the adjacent structure. That's what we're calling that. So Hoagie City, the structure, thrift store, adjacent structure, porno shop, the structure next door. Yes,
So would Hoagie City have to pay the other company to close down?
possibly. It could be, it could come to that, yeah. The first standard in that demolition subpart. Can somebody give me that first standard, or at least generally?
In preparatory operations,
Yes.
to start, prior to permitting employees to start demolition operations, engineering survey shall be made by a competent person of the structure to determine the conditions of the framing, floors, walls, and possibility of unplanned collapse of any portion of the structure. Any adjacent structure where employees may be exposed shall be similarly checked. The employer shall have in writing evidence that such a survey has been performed.
So I'm the competent person, I'm the superintendent, I've done demo jobs. I'm telling this owner, we gotta call a structural engineer. We gotta have them check the building that we're demoing, as well as the building next door. And the building next door to that, the adjacent structures. You have to have an engineering survey performed. Great. High traffic area, 23rd Market, 22nd Market, pardon me. Anybody know that area? Of Market Street? It's a high traffic area. What else do you see? How about,
Isn't that a subway entrance?
how about that trolley access, right?
Right there?
To the trolley, stop at 22nd Street?
Yeah.
Trolley go out to West Philly? Yeah, so that may be an issue also. I'm gonna have to talk to SEPTA. We may have to close this station or this access. If not close, what do they talk about, the sidewalk canopies, right? Perhaps we have to build a scaffold, something to protect those people coming in and out of the subway.
Isn't that a school zone too? Isn't Drexel right there?
Drexel would be on the other side of 30th Street, on the west side. But not to say there's not a daycare or elementary school nearby, right? Something else we'd have to consider. These are all really good questions that you would be asking, that you would actually, you'd have to find the answer to. Okay, so there's the Hoagie City. Looks like they demoed the building next door. Let me go back. So this building came down also.
The corn shop.
The board shop, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Make some way for some high rises, right? Some apartment buildings or something?
Why not?
So here we go. We have what are we looking at?
The clam.
They're doing clamming operations, right? This guy's set up, where's he set up?
These guys spraying it over, right over the subway.
This guy's spraying a hose, right, to keep all the dust down.
Right over the subway.
Right over the subway. It does look like maybe they got a few sheets of plywood on top of there.
Yeah.
Feel safe? Would you feel safe going down that subway?
Close enough.
So, of course, you wouldn't go down the subway. What about the people getting lost?
They got the
Right,
sidewalk
they don't know
fenced
what's
off.
like.
They got no clue what they're walking into.
Yeah, but the sidewalk's fenced
No, the
off.
fence goes around the subway.
This fence,
Yeah.
looks like this fence stops right here.
Yeah, but that should stop anybody from going down the sidewalk.
Hey guys, it's summertime?
I guess we can't see the fence. We don't know if they directed people at the end of the block that they have to cross the street, right, to get through here. How about all these bricks all over the place? And there's that wall,
That one.
right? Look at this main
I wouldn't
beam,
worry
this
about
is
that
beam support. That could come down at any time.
Is that the only cone set up?
Yeah, one cone.
One cone. Yeah, so this guy's standing in the street, he's got his one cone. What about this guy? Where's the operator set up?
Right before a brick shop.
He's right
On
on
the sidewalk, right in front of the brick shop.
Yeah, they're open.
So if some passerby took this photo, and some passerby just took a look up and said, man, this just doesn't look right. This looks a little weird. This looks a little dangerous.
They were a little late though, aren't they?
They were a little late. So here's the next shot. So this shows the fence blocking off half the sidewalk. Right here. The entrance remains open.
Yeah, but couldn't
This
that,
is another passerby. Somebody else took this photo.
couldn't that entrance be open though if they're not working that day?
Could be. Look at this wall. Does that look like maybe that could be dangerous? If it fell
Yeah.
towards the street? Could be. I don't know. We can't see the back. We don't know. Maybe it's braced. Best case scenario.
Looks like it's still tied on.
Another shot. That's the shot we looked at the beginning. Guys don't have PPE. Looks really shady, this wall. We know that's against OSHA regulations, as well as the lack of hard hats.
You see that everywhere though, when they're doing demolition.
Yeah,
I
but right next to an adjacent structure that's still open for business.
It's still
That's
there.
usually,
So this is a video caught by a SEPTA bus as it was driving its route down Market Street.
what they call it happen?
This bus was just in the right place at the right time.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
What the hell was that?
The building collapsing?
That wall fell.
It's smoking dust.
And this guy's just like, yo, get out of the way, I gotta do it.
Yeah, this guy's gotta get to wherever he's going, right?
Seriously, I gotta pick up my mom. Oh,
The
no.
bus,
The bus is gonna go.
Oh no, dust is getting in my face.
We don't know what
running out
happened
in
to
the
us.
oncoming traffic.
Oh man, we should got
Can
it
we watch that one
sooner.
more time?
But this is the wall, this whole thing collapsed. This whole thing went and crushed that store while it was open, full of shoppers and employees.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 people died.
6 people died?
There's like a little
Six
more
people
down
died.
there.
Holy shit.
You know,
And so watch this again.
Damn, it's just crushed the store.
dude, that was like a gust of wind came and fucking died.
Dude, what a lousy fucking way to go.
Right. So most of these people were
Yeah,
in
no
the
clue.
store shopping.
No clue shot in a fucking wow.
Imagine
ordering your
Were you volunteering too when you were at Salvation Army? Or were you?
No, so
employees?
the Salvation Army is a multi-million-dollar business. So they do support a lot of charity, but they also have like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets. And they put their employees they put their employees in harm's way as well as all their shoppers by not closing their shop. We're finding a way around this. So we'll in a few minutes, we'll look at who's at fault.
Could they have been told it's safe to work? I'm sure they would.
They could have been, yeah, by the Salvation Army themselves. I mean, the length that the developer, contractor went to try to mitigate some of this stuff, right? So they told the Salvation Army they should close. Salvation Army says, no, we shouldn't close.
Yeah.
So it was like a back and forth.
So couldn't their employees like sue them then?
You guys are safe to stay open.
No, they tried multiple times to have them close their store.
They were trying to do things.
Did you sue the Salvation Army for that?
There was a criminal suit as well as a civil suit. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Yep. And when I say a few minutes, I mean right now.
Dude, that was a fast few minutes.
So these are the criminal charges. So the players, the owner of the business, the owner of the building,
Which one?
Not so hoagie building or
Porno
Salvation?
King,
I don't know.
I'll take one Italian hoagie. Oh, my name's Mike.
the owner of the building, hired
They call me
architect, GC. The GC hired a subcontractor. The GC and the subcontractor are both in prison
Yep.
for their role in this disaster.
Oh shit.
Yes. The general contractor got 15 to 30 years for involuntary manslaughter.
Oh
So
fuck.
that's like the owner of the general contractor, or is it like
The general contractor
supervising-
owner,
The guy
Yes.
who supervised the whole thing?
the GC owner, right? So that would be, so this is a small
Oh, it's a small.
general contractor. It would be like the owner of one of your companies going to jail.
Like,
Right, yes. The operator, the guy operating the piece of equipment that was doing the demo got 7.5 to 15 years on the same counts.
And he's
So
the
he
one
was
that,
high?
he's the one that they said was,
He did fail a drug test. He was under, he had Xanax or Percocets and codeine in his system.
yeah.
If,
Yeah.
would he get a smaller sentence if he passed him on that?
I don't know.
Just like an
I guess
accident?
that would be up to,
And if he
the
didn't
jury.
run the wall because he was a rhino.
but the subcontractor has a lot, just like a lot of non-union construction workers were owner-operators. So the guy who was the sub was also 1099 as an independent contractor, and that's why he went to prison, because he owned the company. So the sub was also the operator. got 7.5 to 15 for his role. Both charged with involuntary manslaughter. The civil charges, largest personal injury settlement in Pennsylvania history.
Holy.
Salvation Army, $200 million.
Wow, damn. They paid out.
That's what they paid out, yes.
You guarantee on the settlement.
I feel like it's not even that much.
No, it's
Six people.
Six people divided.
Six people.
And then injuries too? Yeah, it's really not.
The owner of the building, 27 million. So, this guy was trying to make a buck by hiring cheap labor. I know he was on this guy's case to have him hurry up and finish. So he hired a contractor that was not qualified to do the job, who did the job unsafely, and he was fined $27 million by the defendants, who were the victims' families. So, a class action suit.
So would that be the
So
case?
OSHA, this was governed, this site and every site in the city of Philadelphia is governed and ran by a license and inspections officer. The 7th death resulting from this catastrophe was the L&I inspector committed suicide in his truck a week later. Because he was in charge of monitoring the construction and demolition of this job. And just a few days prior, he visited this site, allegedly visited this site and said that everything was safe and they were good to go. So all their paperwork was in order. And they were proceeding, with the blessing of L&I. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that the guy took his own life as a result of this. OSHA visited the site, and OSHA made a couple of determinations as to who was at fault and for what. And they issued a couple citations. So what I'd like you guys to do is to go on your phone and figure out what these people were cited for. Yes?
So, if I own a lot of land in the city and I'm demoing, and like a freak accident happens, just me as the owner have to go to prison for that?
As the owner of a company that, in something like this, then
Well,
yes.
What if it's not something like that and just something crazy happens?
If it's negligent, if you were following every rule and every law to the T and it was just some freak accident, I don't know what would happen. It wouldn't be as severe as these people. They didn't get charged with murder.
What year was it?
2013. But yes, as owner, as employees, with negligently, even you can be charged with some type of criminal act on the job if you did something so grossly negligent that it resulted in injury or death. If you were aware and you did it. I don't want to speculate for different scenarios, but yes, in this particular case, the owner of the general contractor as well as the operator, subcontractor, both went to prison for their lack of following the law that resulted in these
The
deaths.
safety guy would have too, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like this job had a safety guy.
Well, no, the guy killed himself.
Oh, yes. Would he go to prison?
He would have been going too.
Perhaps.
Probably.
I feel like it's more.
Perhaps. Depends. I don't know. That would all be, it's just art and speculation. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I found the citations.
You found the citations?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the Philadelphia Business Journal, OSHA cited demolition contractor Griffin T. Campbell Construction, and excavating operator Sean Benship of S&R Contracting, $400,000. And then it breaks it down. OSHA issued fines of $313,000 for Campbell Construction and $84,000 for S&R Contracting.
So this is the OSHA citation for S&R Contracting, which was the operator. actual same letter that this fellow got, that he received. And here is the citations, all the way at the end. 29 CFR, top of the page, 501B41. Each employee on walking working surfaces was not protected from falling through holes more than 6 feet. So fall protection. So we got a hit for that. $7,000. This shows the address of the work site, so on and so forth. This next item, also serious. Employer did not provide a training program for each employee potentially exposed to fall hazards. All right, so if you were hurt on a job, or if something really bad happened to you, your employer could be fined for not putting you through some kind of fall protection training.
Oh, it says the operator of the, whatever that was.
Yeah, he had
He
employees.
said, it just said he had marijuana in his system.
Gotcha.
6
Okay.
counts of medicine.
And then here's the last one, the big one, willful. 1926, 854B. Wall sections more than 1 story in height were permitted to stand alone without lateral bracing, or not left in a safe condition, not to be self-supported. So he left that wall running over 1 story high without lateral bracing, and he got fined $70,000 for it. In addition to getting 7.5 to 15 for involuntary manslaughter.
So if that one dude didn't have marijuana in his system, would he have less of a sentence?
Maybe, I don't know. Either way, he didn't abide by the OSHA regulations for demolition. Yeah.
What about the employees? Are the employees at fault? Like, if they're kind of in the dark,
Yeah.
it's their bosses saying, yeah, all paperwork's good, everything's good, we're all safe.
OSHA
I mean,
can't
other
find
than them
individual
not
employees.
speaking up and saying, hey, this isn't safe. I mean, some of them, from metal buildings can fall over and kill 6 people.
Right, true. And those employees weren't held liable.
They were, or
They were not.
Okay.
So the people that he had hired, the people that were close to, that he got fined for not having fall protection for, the people that weren't trained, they weren't held liable. He was. So you as employees cannot be fined individually by OSHA. If you lived in Canada, you could be. Because they hold their workers to a standard where if they do something stupid, they can be fined personally for it. But for you guys, OSHA will only fine your boss.
What about court? Any of the employees do?
That's a good question, and we'll have to hit on that a little later. Can you be taken to court for something that you did at work? Think of a worst case scenario. You put
Like
a guy,
one of them had to
said
say
yes.
something.
But yeah, if you withhold information that may result in somebody's injury or death, then it's possible. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do this little worksheet, and I'll pass it out. It's quick. It's everything we just went over. It covers the whole subpart. Everything's in your book, and we'll go over it in a few minutes.
Every single one of them. Shattered them all.
All right, so I'm going to hand out this worksheet. You guys can finish this.
We recorded or no?
Yes. Name, class, date on the top, please. Thank you. So when you guys are done with this, just bring it on up and hand it over to me. And yes, so just do me a favor and don't, when you do finish up, just be quiet so everybody else can finish before you go talking to your buddy. If you got to talk about something, then go out and get it.
That's open book.
This is open book.
That's not a worksheet.
So it's multiple choice, so just give the best response to the question.
best house we got.
So if you didn't write your number or the corresponding letter in the space, then you got a -5 automatically. But I graded, everyone I graded was 100, but I had to give out 295s because not following those
Oh, wow.
easy directions.
Who got that? Yeah, see, you wouldn't be all fit and smart, look at that.
I don't read directions.
Number one, according to 1926 850A, what type of survey must be performed prior to permitting employees to start demolition operations? B, engineering survey. Not only have to check that building, but any adjacent structure where workers may be present. Number two, who must be notified in advance to shut off, cap, or control electric, gas, steam, sewer, and other service lines before demolition begins? C, utility company. They must be notified, that way they can come check and see if they have any lines, they can cap and shut things off, demo existing things, reroute stuff if necessary. Number three, if any hazardous substance is present on the job, the hazard must be eliminated before demolition activities begin. True or false?
A, true.
A, true. What are the types of hazards that could exist? Asbestos, gases, chemicals. Great. Number four, which standard states that a sidewalk, sheds, and or canopies must provide protection up to 8 foot from the face of the building? B, 1926.850A. Number five, stairs, passageways, and ladders must be inspected and maintained in a safe and clean condition. True or false?
True.
A, true. Number six, chute openings must be protected by a minimum 24-inch guardrail.
False.
Is false. What is that guardrail? 42 inches. Great. If a material is dumped from mechanical equipment or wheelbarrow, a tow board or bumper no less than what?
A, 4 to 6 inches.
4 to 6 inches shall be provided. Spelling error. Anybody catch my spelling error?
Barrel.
It is actually called a wheelbarrow.
It is proper.
The spelling error is bumper no less than. L-E-S, less. Oops.
C,
No less.
No wall section no more than blank story in height shall be permitted to stand alone without lateral bracing unless specifically designed to do so.
A.
It's A, 1 story. That's what that contractor got hit for in our case study, Salvation Army. Structural or load supporting members can be demolished before floors above have been demolished and removed.
False.
False.
B, false. Number 10, any openings cut in the floor for the disposal of material cannot exceed 25% of the floor space. D, steel columns may not be dismantled at 2-story lengths.
False.
It's false. They can be, right? No worker shall be permitted in any area which can be adversely affected by demolition operations when balling or clamming is performed.
True.
True.
A, true. And number 13, selective demolition by explosives is covered in subpart what?
C.
C.
U.
B.
U. B.
U.
U.
The answer is B. Subpart U.
Like that, like that.
So subpart T covers demolition, general. Subpart U covers specifically the use of explosives. So demolition is dangerous. Demolition is hazardous, as we saw on the PowerPoint from the Salvation Army. Demolition is also could be deadly. Right. So we want to make sure when we're on the jobs that we're running, that we're working on, that we're following all these safety protocols, and that you're aware that these things exist and where to find them. Take these. Thank you very much.